Hello, everyone, and welcome to MSP Webinars. I'm your host, Steve Taylor, and today we've got a fun one. Before we get started, if you like what you see on these free webinars, there's a lot more great content and resources available to members of MSP Webinars. Just go to mspwebinars.com and you can hit the button to join. If you're watching this live on Zoom, you're going to see three buttons across the bottom of the Zoom window: chat, raise hand, and Q&A. If you have a question, please use the Q&A button. If you feel the question's urgent, you can raise your hand, and I'll do my best to interrupt and ask the question as quickly as possible. The chat feature is configured to let you chat with us, the panelists. So other people won't see your chat, just so you know. Finally, this is being recorded and streamed live to YouTube. So if you have to take a call and miss a portion, it's okay. You'll be able to watch this later. So today I am joined by a slew of folks, and I'm actually going to start by just introducing Paul and Caleb. Paul and Caleb are with Sandler Partners, and you guys are a master agency. And
that's correct.
And if you could kind of explain, what exactly is a master agency for the, very few people that probably don't already know what that is yet.
Okay, sure. Thanks for having us, Steve. A master agent is basically a broker that holds relationships with many ISPs, UCaaS providers, data centers, et cetera, and enable the MSP community an avenue to sell those services and earn a recurring commission.
Excellent. Now, I know that you guys put together a fun little slide deck for us. I can't talk today. And I see somebody asked, Spectrum as in the cable company? Yes, Spectrum as in the cable company. So if you'd like, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and just kind of walk through what you got, make any introductions you'd like to make, and take it away.
Sure. So today on the call with us, we'll get to them later, but we've got Broadvoice, who is a hosted UCaaS provider, and Spectrum, the cable company, a network provider. And so we'll
sorry, just so you know, we're seeing the presentation view. We don't see. I'm sorry, we're seeing your view. We're not seeing the presenter view or the audience view. Call
it. Is that it now? Do you see the Inc. 5000?
We do, but we also see the thing that says next slide with all your notes. I think it might just be that you shared the wrong screen.
All right, we'll try this again.
There we go.
Does that look better?
Beautiful.
Okay, so we've got Cameron from Broadvoice and Mike from Spectrum, and I'll hand off the call later to them. But Sandler Partners has been around since 2003, like I said, as a master agent. And for the last 9 years, we've been on the Inc. 5000 list, which is a stat that we're pretty proud of. It just shows our consistent perpetual growth that our partners have enabled us to achieve. When we achieved the 8-time status, they said 1% of companies actually achieve that. And then we hit 9 times, and we're on track to do it again this year. So we're excited about the stability of our business and the growth that our partners continue to bring us. Just digging in a little bit deeper as to what we sell or what we enable you to sell, it's connectivity. That's why Spectrum's here. They're a major provider for us on coax and fiber, as well as some voice services. SD-WAN is big for us. We've got a lot of carriers, traditional carriers, that have a flavor of SD-WAN, and then some over-the-top SD-WAN providers. Cloud, UCaaS, colo, traditional voice services, whether it's POTS lines. If you've got multi-location accounts with alarm lines, fax lines, there's still a lot of money to be made in POTS. And we're moving into security, mobility, and continuity. So those are kind of the types of services that we sell, enable you to sell, partner with you to sell. If some of that might be in your core business, we want to develop a relationship with you so that we don't propose services that you want to sell the customer directly. We just want to be the to be the backstop and sell the stuff that you can't sell in your portfolio. How you can work with us varies, and so you'll have a one-on-one relationship with us. So we'll learn how you want to be supported and how you want us to quote deals for you. But every deal can be different because we realize that in the marketplace, your relationship with your customers is going to vary from customer to customer. So on one deal, you might just need us to fetch 3 quotes for you from 3 different providers, and we're happy to do that. On another quote, you might want us to present those options to your customer, and we're happy to do that side by side with you. Whether that means meeting in person or getting on a conference call together, depending on the size and the scope and complexity of that deal. Or we're happy if you just give us a warm introduction to completely engage with them and not encumber you in that sales process. If you want to keep arm's length from the traditional telco carrier services, we're happy to do that as well. So whatever seat you want us to sit on any particular deal, we're happy to. We just want you to let us know, hey, we want you to sell this for us, we want to sell it with you, or we just want you to quote it for us and we'll present it and we'll close it with the customer and send back the contracts to the provider. So we've got a team of people that will help you depending on the nature of what you want the engagement to look like on any individual deal. And so this is just another slide that shows out one of the big questions that's probably going to come up later is compensation. And it's a hard question to answer just because depending on the providers that are in the mix, compensation varies. And then the level of engagement that we provide on any individual deal, there's 4 different commission tiers in our agreement that we're happy to walk you through and give you specific examples. But just to reiterate, we can sell it with you, we can sell it for you, or we can just get the quotes and enable you guys to sell it. To get started, getting a quote is really easy. All we ask is that you just send us a quote request. And the main thing that we need is the customer's address in most cases, especially if there's a network component to it, because that's going to be a big factor in what is available. And if you have any sort of budgetary sense of what the customer is looking for, it used to be very obvious when somebody asked for 100 megs what that meant. But now that can mean a lot of different things because broadband is oftentimes available up to 100 megs, dedicated fiber, fixed wireless. And so without us having a visibility into what the customer is expecting, it opens up the possibilities of an endless amount of quotes. So if you just kind of give us a sense of what the ballpark is that you're looking for, we're happy to run it down. Generally speaking, quotes are going to be turned around in 24 to 72 hours, depending on the number of locations and the complexity and the number of products. But if you need something quicker, just let us know and we can try to pre-qualify it faster. And if it's going to take longer, we'll manage that and set those expectations and try to enable you to deliver the right message to your customer as well. Once you're signed up with us, you'll also get access to our portal. Our portal is where you get your commission statements eventually, but it also is a library of information that has all of our contacts for all of the providers, the spiffs that are currently available that we're aware of, the commissions that we get paid. We're transparent, so in there you'll see the commission rate sheet. It tells you exactly what Sandler Partners gets paid by the providers. And then going back to the tiered deal model, you'll know what your percentage is of those tiers and you just multiply it through. And we've got some calculators to make that a little bit easier as well. But there's webinars that you can access inside of here for specific carriers, specific trainings if you want to learn more about a specific product or a specific provider, and then escalation contacts within them. We are also here to help you escalate service tickets as they come up. We'd love to tell you that your customers will never have an outage, but that's just not realistic or practical. What we do ask is that you open up the ticket with the provider or have the customer open up the ticket with the provider because the providers tend to like somebody on site to look at lights and plug and unplug things. But once we get that ticket number, we are happy through our channels to escalate those issues with those providers for any of the services that we've sold. And if they're not services we've sold, but you're having an issue with one of our providers, we're happy to try but we're met with mediocre results because oftentimes we're not authorized on the account and don't have the right engagement. But we're absolutely here to help support you with any trouble tickets you might have, billing tickets, anything about supporting your customers. We want to make you look like a hero. John will be our primary contact for you guys. He is a channel manager for us. This is what he does all day, every day, is fields quotes, talks to customers, works on installations and escalations. And so there is his contact info, and he will be the primary contact for any opportunities you have and help navigate what providers to quote, what providers to sell, and to make sure that you and your customers have a positive experience. And now I'm going to turn it over to Broadvoice unless there's any questions specific to Sandler, or we can also circle back at the end. But Cameron, if you want to take it over.
Fantastic. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. You're going to have to stop sharing for a second so I can pull mine up. Fantastic. First of all, Steve, thanks for having me. Appreciate you reaching out and being part of this program. My name is Cameron Olson. I am Director of Business Development here at Broadvoice. I come to Broadvoice by way of acquisition recently with a company called YipTel, and went through an acquisition here a couple months ago, and very, very excited to be part of the Broadvoice team, the Broadvoice family and company. It's a great organization to be part of. Really, I think the important part of this conversation is why would an MSP have any interest in working with Broadvoice? And I think number one, the most important thing is the ability to supplement or bring in additional revenues and sources of income to help build the success of your organization. Working with us, we have the ability to provide an auxiliary service that you may or may not be currently providing to your partners that you already have the trusted relationship with. We have the ability to come in, and because you own the network, because you own a lot of the pieces of that the customer already has in place, we work very closely with managed service providers because number one, we really want to make sure we have a VoIP ready network, which includes a good firewall, a managed switch, great internet connection. And because you've already managed that in the past, we can have those discussions very nicely. Switch to the next slide here. A little bit about Broadvoice. We got started in 2006, but in actuality, the organization started way before that. The founders of the company, Jim and Ari, started the business when they were in college selling pagers and cell phones. They have been bootstrapping this company way before that time, and the nice thing is this company is a privately held company. We're currently about 260 employees, about 65 million in revenue. And why is that important? I think it's important because we are large enough to be financially stable, have a great platform, a great product, but yet we're still small enough and nimble to provide a great level of service and interaction. The ability to call up and escalate if there's an issue, or get additional help on additional resources, or put programs that are in place that can help you specifically. We love to do those types of things. So what we do in our core business, we provide unified communications as a service, also known as UCaaS. We also specialize in providing SIP trunks for those people that are providing premise-based phone systems and equipment. We can provide you SIP trunks, which will usually save you money compared to the traditional dial tone. We have a great call center platform for the customers that need some sort of metrics and statistics on inbound calls, and we also provide a little bit of bandwidth. So some of the reasons managed service providers come to us and say, hey, we really enjoy working with you is number one, we have a great sales team. We have a channel manager that will work specifically with you, and they're backed up with a partner support manager that will help you get quotes quickly, and then a solutions architect that will help you design and engineer a solution. We kind of do the heavy lifting in most of the implementation process. You can be as involved as a little or as much as you want. If you want us to run everything through you before it goes to the end user, the question of how many users, what are their extensions, how are calls routed, you can certainly do that, or we will walk out and work with the customer directly. Also, we have great marketing and support, a lot of tools. We provide evergreen residuals, so as long as we are getting paid, we will pay you as well. And last, and I think one of the most important, if you want to come on a year-end trip with us, we provide a President's Club for some of our top partners, and would love to have you part of that. So places where we make sense, we play in the SMB space, so 10 to 200 seats. There are some verticals that we play in that I'll talk about here in a little bit that we make a lot of sense for. But any customer that has a small call center, support team, customer service, we're a great fit for that. One thing that makes us very unique is most hosted companies sell their services on a per seat model. And we absolutely do that as well. But one thing that makes us a little bit unique is we have a call path model, which means for schools that have a ton of phones but only need a few phone lines, for multi-site retail that may have 700 phones in all of their stores, but maybe only have about 70 phone calls going on at the same time. We have a very niche model there. We charge a lower cost for the user, a little bit bigger cost for the call path, and we find in scenarios in the 50 seats and above, we're about 30% less than most of our competition. As you can see, we have some pretty decent logos there of people we do business with, and would be happy to provide some of those references as you work with your customers. As we said, there's a few verticals we play in. We talked about retail, talked about education. Healthcare is also a very big one that we provide services for, and there's a couple reasons. Number one, we sign BAA agreements, which is a business associates agreement, which means healthcare providers that are being HIPAA regulated are required to have a document signed saying that their providers are HIPAA compliant, and we certainly do that. Another unique place we play is we have a great SMS product that allows us to send and receive SMS messages through your main company numbers. Also a set appointment reminder. So when you got a doctor's appointment coming up, you can send out or you receive a reminder saying, hey, just a reminder that you have an appointment with Dr. So-and-so tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Last place is law offices. We play in there very well because of our call recording and account codes and portal administration. We have several PBXs that we provide support for, so you can see those. We can also provide you with some test trunks, and we would love to certify other systems or platforms that you may have, and just make sure that everything works correctly. We have two models. We have, let's see if it's coming up. We have a pay per minute model, and we also have a unlimited long distance model, very cost effective. So a couple different ways of providing those SIP trunks. We talked about contact center. Pretty cost-effective contact center for $40 per user. We give all the real-time statistics, the dashboards, the reports, most of the things that call centers are looking for to be able to generate the information to staff their call center. We have all of that for you. Here's our SIP trunk pricing model. So $17 per call path for an unlimited inbound and outbound. And then we also have a metered seat for a metered call path for $11, and then a few auxiliary services on top of that. A lot of our MSPs are really excited about the fact that we have a few different installation options. We can certainly do a program and ship and help the customer remotely plug in their phones, make sure everything's set up correct, test all the phone numbers. But we also provide professional services, so we can have somebody go out on site and help set that up. We also do a full training program for managed service providers that want to be part of that installation program and generate revenue for that. So we give you the ability to mark up the installation cost, and the rest of that is passed through to you. So if you have some time, some effort, and some resources that need to be out on site for the installation cost, you're not going to lose that money. We'll charge a little bit more and compensate you for your time. Some of the differentiators. We're very excited to be here with this team, and I will pass it back off to Steve or whoever's next. Unless there's any questions, I guess.
There actually are. So I'm going to take a break if that's all right, guys. Let's see here. I noticed if you could put that slide up again for all the different companies you work with as far as your back end.
This one?
That there.
Yep.
So these are the supported PBX systems. Now, do you have your own? This is where I was a little confused. Do you have your own proprietary system, or are you just saying you work with these and?
Yeah, so we provide hosted services. So we can be the complete end solution. They don't need a PBX. They'll pay per user per month on a phone in their office. And we include all the services, the auto attendants, the hunt groups, the phone numbers, the long distance. We include all of that for you on what we call an operational expense. So they pay per user per month. There's still a lot of companies out there that have a premise-based phone system, one of these or a slew of others that they're not ready to dump that system because they paid thousands of dollars in a capital expense. They've paid a lot of money, so they have an end of life that. So we can come in and instead of getting analog lines from some of the LECs and pay a significant amount of money, we can come in and provide phone lines at a much more reduced cost and plug into their existing PBXs on site.
Okay, so this is just for the SIP trunks. This has nothing to do with your hosted voice.
That's correct. Now, what we can do though is, let's say a customer has multiple sites, and one site they have a Allworks phone system, and the other site they have an old dying system and they need to replace that. We can provide SIP trunks to the one and hosted voice services to the other, and make sure they're connected on one bill and they have the ability to communicate and collaborate between the two systems. Okay.
And with that, on your hosted voice, so talk to me about hosted voice, because there's quite a few companies out there for hosted voice, and it seems like many of them are all using something like NetSapiens as kind of like the back end of their phone service.
Sure.
So what are you using as the back end of your phone service?
Fantastic. And that's a great question. So one of the major reasons why YipTel decided to merge with BroadVoice is because the ownership group, including myself and a few of the other owners, realized that there's a big change in the trend of the way people communicate. Instead of this UCaaS or Unified Communications as a Service, they're moving to a CPaaS, which stands for Communications Platform as a Service. And simply what that means is the ability to start tying into other programs, making sure that we work with Outlook, Click to Dial, Screen Pop, those types of items. BroadVoice has a platform which we call Beehive that is a homegrown platform, means we have the developers in-house that built the phone systems from scratch. We own the code, we're in charge of development, and we have people on staff to do that. So that particular platform is there. The other nice thing with the acquisition of YipTel, we brought in two other platforms with that. One is a Metaswitch, and the other one is built on Zoltis, which is an IP PBX platform that we've moved to a hosted environment. So in reality, we have three unique platforms. We're still coming together with the acquisition, so some of this won't be available and probably till the end of the year. But if for some reason somebody's not fit for the Beehive or one or the other, we have several solutions that we can make sure that they're the right fit for.
Sounds good. And so you're telling me that you don't have like a base of NetSapiens or free PBX or whatever else is out there. You guys built your own phone system from the ground up?
That is correct. Yep. The Beehive platform from the ground up by ourselves.
Okay.
It's hosted in the Amazon cloud or the Amazon Web Services. So the robustness of those data centers is also what's backing our platform as well.
Now let's talk about commission. Did you have a slide up showing us what kind of money we get to earn?
I don't have a slide talking about that. So what I can say and what you will be wanting to do, and maybe Caleb or one of the guys from Sandler can come in, depending on their level of involvement in the sales process, commissions are paid out according to that. What I can say is we do have some of the highest spiffs in the industry. So we pay out a very lucrative spiff up front. So usually a multiplier of how much their monthly contract is for. And then there's also an ongoing revenue side to that, that you get a portion of the monthly reoccurring revenue from that customer.
Okay, good.
And I'll chime in just to add a little bit more specifics. Broad Voice pays us 30% residual. So whatever the customer is spending, Sandler gets 30% of that. And then the agent's going based on their level of involvement to get some of that or most of it. And then there is usually, I think right now, Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong, but a 3x spiff for most deals, depending on how that rental is set up and the number of handsets that are in the deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. So we have up to a 6x spiff on deals 25 seats and above. It is a 4x with seats between 5 and 24. And then if the customer needs free phones to help close the deal, we will pay a 2x spiff instead of the 4 or the 6x still, even if we're providing free phones to the customer.
That's not a bad deal.
It's a great way we call it mailbox money. You help us close the deal. Some residual revenue comes in month over month and helps you build your business for sure.
I see a question here and I'm almost afraid to ask it because I feel like this is always a joke in the industry. You guys offer faxing as part of your solution, correct?
That is correct.
How is faxing handled and is it HIPAA compliant?
So we do have 2 fax options. One of them is a fax through an ATA, which means we put a box on site so you can plug in a traditional analog fax machine. And yes, that is HIPAA compliant. The other really cool feature is fax to email or electronic fax, and that is also HIPAA compliant. And the way that that's done is instead of actually sending the fax in the email, it has a link. They click on the link and then they're required to log into the portal where the fax is located. So we don't send that fax electronically, which both are HIPAA compliant.
All right. And then Broad Voice, is there a way we can bundle your service into our managed services?
So that gets a little bit tricky. We don't do a white label program, which means you resell our services. We do have some partners that are the bill to portion of that customer. So the service is provided to the customer, but we bill the MSP themselves. They will take that bill, put it into their invoicing, and then invoice the customer for the entirety. So that can be done. The nice thing about not doing a white label program, or some reasons you wouldn't want to go that way, is because the taxing engine behind voice, Uncle Sam likes to get as many pieces as possible, and every little county, municipality, and company charges different. So the taxing is very complicated behind it. So a lot of people shy away from that, but you can certainly be the bill to part of that customer. We bill you and then you rebill the customer for those services.
So then I want to make sure I'm asking the question appropriately. So when you bill us, we're paying all those wonderful regulatory fees and made up fees and taxes and everything else that you guys throw on the bill.
That's correct.
We then turn around and do we have to charge our customer? Can that just be a cost of goods sold for our, let's call it $250 per user that we're charging?
That's correct. So I don't believe, and we may need to consult a tax accountant, but I believe you can just charge a hosted services fee, and because you're paying for the taxes and fees on the bill coming to us, that you wouldn't need to rebill those taxes to them, because they're already being paid for.
But someone has to pay them, so
That's
it's
correct.
either us or them. And if we give you a resale certificate, and then it just becomes a white label thing, and you guys just aren't in the market or interested in doing anything like that, it sounds like.
Yeah, so currently we don't do any white labeling. A reseller certificate, if you're tax exempt, some of those taxes go away. So state tax and federal taxes go away, but there's a lot of fees and taxes on a telecom bill that aren't tax exempt, like the Universal Service Fund, and a few of those others are not tax exempt.
The administrative fee, and I printed your bill out and then emailed it to you fee, and I pick on you, but every phone company does it, right?
Yeah, so we have very little what we call junk fees in ours. We have some taxes that we charge, like a property tax, because that's something that the government charges us, and we pass those taxes on to the end user. But I think you'll find in our bills that we're significantly less than what industry standards are showing.
So, and then I see Luis put a question into the chat here, and I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. He said, if we sign up with Sandler as a partner, why do we need Broad Voice? And I think I can answer this. Sandler is not the VoIP company. Broad Voice is. Sandler is
that's correct.
The company that's helping you get commission in perpetuity, because Sandler is a master agent that's basically helping Broad Voice sell without having Broad Voice hire more salespeople, because Sandler is technically the salesperson getting the commission, and then we work with Sandler and get a piece of that commission depending on our level of involvement. Did I say that right, guys?
Yeah, that's correct. Sandler doesn't offer any products or services for end users to consume. Broad Voice does that, and Spectrum does that. We are just the avenue and the contract so that you can earn a commission for doing that.
I like to explain it a lot like a story. You could certainly go to, I don't know, Kraft and buy cheese and whatever services they provide, but why do that when you can go to the grocery store and have one single place, depending on your needs, depending on your likes, to source all of those different items.
So Cameron, let me ask you this. Can I, as an MSP, just say, hey, Cameron, I don't need Sandler. Can I just become a partner of Broad Voice and sell your services with you? You still bill the customer or bill me or bill someone, but I want to get the 30% all to myself. No offense, Sandler.
No, so the reason that we push a lot of our relationships through Sandler is just economy of scale. They provide amazing service and have the relationships with most of the partners in the channel, and they provide a lot of additional feature and functionality that we don't have. So typically, the reason why we pay them 30% is because they're managing, distributing the cash. We have to pay less. We send out less checks and a lot of those service stuff. So they become a broker for us. You can certainly come to us direct, but the payout is significantly less than if you went to Sandler and worked through them. So we highly encourage working through Sandler. You get a much better level of service because not only do you have access to Broad Voice, but there may be a time where you bring a customer and they're just not a good fit for us. I'm not ashamed to say that we don't fit every single customer, and Sandler will help you recognize that and provide one of our competitors as a better solution compared to us.
Magic Jack for everyone. I had to pick the most ridiculous sounding one to make sure you guys know I'm not being serious, okay?
I don't think they're in business anymore, so I don't think you can pick that.
All right, so Let's see. I think that's all the questions. So basically, if we come to you directly, we're not getting 30%.
Not even close. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
No.
thanks very much, Cameron. I think that's all the questions for you, but feel free to stick around just in case there's more. Caleb, do you have more, or are we going to Michael now?
We'll go to Michael now.
All
Let me
right.
go ahead, stop share, and I'll shut off my video so you don't have to see my face anymore.
It's an all right face.
Hello, everybody.
Is that showing the Spectrum screen now?
Yes, sir. Easy to
Sure
sell, easy to earn.
Mm-hmm. Hi, everybody. Thanks for allowing me to join. I'm very happy to be here. Spectrum is a collection of 3 different MSOs or cable companies. Those 3 would be Bright House Networks, Charter Communications, and Time Warner Cable Business Class. And on the screen here, you have a shot of what our nationwide network would look like. And the dark blue just shows the territories that Spectrum operates currently. We're not like a ILEC or a CLEC where we have a universal origination throughout the entire country. We have pockets where we have what they call franchise territory. Spectrum is a company that has 2 divisions. One would be the SMB side, which is the side that I support, and it provides support, sales, and service for coax services that would be business internet, business television, and business voice services. We also have an enterprise division. The enterprise side handles anything that would be dedicated internet access, or is now called fiber internet access, PRI, and SIP trunking. If you have a need or a customer that needs fiber services, you can contact John Ellis. John navigates daily between the enterprise and the SMB product sets, and he is quite good at providing you support there. As far as the internet, we have standardized our internet to make it easier. We used to have a ton of different speeds. We've kind of whittled it down to 3 or 4 depending upon the market. We have the 100 by 10, we have a 300 or a 400 by 20 depending upon the market, and then we have our gig product. The internet speeds that we provide are very different from DSL and even UVerse. We don't have a distance sensitivity issue. Our speeds are typically much faster. They're very, very reliable, and people have used them for a variety of different applications. So if you have a customer out there that has an existing fiber service, but they don't have any type of a backup for data, I would highly encourage you to introduce them to that idea. I will say that if you don't, it's pretty much assured that someone else is going to. And honestly, if you are going to look at coax as a backup, you're closing doors to potential competitors that might come in and try to steal a piece of your business. Our digital phone service is very similar to POTS, but it's not POTS as in the old tip and ring. People are using it for elevator lines, credit card processing, standard voice applications, some alarm services. When it comes to alarm services, though, I would highly recommend that you work with or contact the alarm company that's supporting them and just ask them what their experience has been with cable company phone lines and alarm services. If it's fire alarm equipment that is being monitored by the local fire entity, the fire department, I would actually recommend that they keep a LEC POTS line. They typically work better on that. On the screen here, you see the services that are provided as a standard of our voice services. There's also a voice portal that the customer has access to, and they can go in and make changes to a lot of their phone service, whether it's a hunt group, forwarding, and so forth. We do provide a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour customer support. Customer service is, whether it's for billing, technical support, or moves, adds, and changes, is all through a single customer care number. It's usually best for the customer to have their bill in front of them, or at least their account number, so that they can be located very, very quickly and make any type of changes that they feel that they need to make for the services, whether it's internet or it's voice or it's television. Our TV services are a little bit different than they would be for a residential service, only because you have some licensing issues that impact what we can actually deliver to a business. We have several different tiers. One of them is Business TV. That's probably our slimmest channel lineup. We have the Business TV Premier, which is more robust and has a number of sports channels. We also have a restaurant and bar service with Game Time TV, and that's a service that is used by a large number of chain restaurants as well as sports bars and so forth. Support for the TV is similar to voice services or internet, and that would be handled through our customer care. They can test the modem, make sure that they're able to see the modem, the activity, see that it's up. They can do the same thing with the cable box. If customer wants to add a particular tier, say Variety TV, they can also do that through customer care. The bar and restaurant is actually exclusive for bars and restaurants or customers that generate the majority of their revenue through the delivery of food, or anybody that has or is selling wines and spirits. They have to have bar and restaurant TV. They don't have another option for that. So, okay, Caleb, can you flip over there? So Partner Link is a portal that we provide to our agents and our sub-agents. On Partner Link, there's a lot of different information. It allows you to go in and look at our products and get granular details on what it is and how it's used, pricing updates. We provide a serviceability tool. We are not in every single business that might be out there. We are working towards accomplishing that, but the serviceability tool is going to help you qualify whether or not a customer can get service with Spectrum right now. We also have some libraries that will contain sales information that will help you to understand better how to present our product. We've got some case studies in there, and it's a really feature-rich and content-rich partner portal for all of our sales agents and our sub-agents. Okay, Caleb. So we do have some, what's that?
Nothing. I think that was your last slide, and the last slide in here is just one that for anybody who does their first deal with Sandler with John, just a $25 bonus in addition to any commissions that you're going to earn, spiff and residual from the carriers that we sell, as a means to try to get people activated.
Thanks. Yeah, and this is Paul. I'll go over that real quick. So Steve, when we set up this conference here, the webinar, asked us to do something special for just his members, something that we don't normally do. And so this was kind of something special for just you guys as far as getting you guys on board with Sandler Partners and start working with us. So essentially, if you guys put it through any deal with us through John Ellis, and his contact information will be up on the next slide. So do make sure to go ahead and take that down. Once you put that order through, we'll go ahead and send you an e-gift card for $25 for Amazon, and you can use that on anything you like there, of course. So John Ellis is who you'll be working with. He's our senior channel manager, and his contact information is on the screen. Anybody that's on audio only for this call, I'll go ahead and read out the phone number for him if you can take that down. John Ellis can be reached at 714-858-9538, and he'll be your direct point of contact here at Sandler Partners. So if you give him a call and just you guys can go ahead and go over any kind of opportunities you guys may have, any kind of questions, be more than happy to answer those for you.
Awesome. And thank you for doing that, by the way. I do appreciate that. So the Spectrum partner link, is that the same link as if people try to sign up at partners.spectrum.com?
So yes, actually no, Partner Link is something that you have to have access to. Once you become a partner, you can request that through Sandler Partners, or you can engage myself, and there's a sign-up process. What you would actually need is going to be the master agent 5-digit code, so that we can assign you a username, and you then create a password, and then you're off and going. You have access to all of the content that is included in Partner Link. As far as inquiring as a partner, it's a situation that's similar to Broad Voice. with a couple of different differences. We are not allowing people to sign up as an agent directly through Spectrum. Right now, you really need to work with, and actually you don't have another option other than to work with one of our master agents. I will tell you though, and we touched on it a little bit, there's a significant advantage to working through Sandler Partners. If you're an MSP right now and you're really, really focused on your business, becoming an expert on carrier services, it takes some time if you haven't done it before. Customers today, through Sandler Partners and Spectrum and Broad Voice, have a market sensitivity that they can't get on their own. They have the ability to work with someone who is a professional, who literally has their fingers on the pulse of the industry every single day, whether it's with Broad Voice, Spectrum, CenturyLink, or AT&T. And you're tapped into a resource that's very, very difficult to have, and you're tapped into a resource that your customers have no access to. And like it was said earlier, I may not be the best fit for someone. And if I'm not the best fit for someone, there's no sense in trying to force them in that direction. A call to John to understand the application that the customer is trying to fulfill, the circumstances for the install, what the company has planned for the future. All of that goes into consideration when John makes a recommendation. A customer saves a great deal of time when they engage John and Sandler Partners. You truly get the best mix of price and performance. They have a lot of skin in the game because they're not there to just make a sale. They're there to help to enhance a relationship. They're there to have an ongoing relationship and manage the relationship with the carrier. If the customer outgrows Spectrum, John has a solution for that. And the great thing about it is it takes no time away from the MSP owner to engage John and come up with a really solid solution. The customer saves time, the customer saves money, and they have a really, really strong advocate. So there's a huge benefit behind partnering with Sandler Partners and using, the resources that they have available to them.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Michael. I do have some more questions for Caleb and Paul over at Sandler. So first of all, I know that it was answered in the chat. I do want to make sure that we say it out loud for the people that watch this recorded on YouTube later on. How does this work if, maybe somebody's already got Spectrum Coax? Can we just attach ourselves to that and start getting some money?
No, generally speaking, the providers pay us to bring them new logos or new customers. With Spectrum, if we upgraded that customer from coax to fiber, there is the opportunity to take over that and get paid on that customer. But generally speaking, the name of the game is to flip from one carrier to another and bring the carrier the new logo.
Now you're saying logo.
A new customer, yeah.
Because right now, I mean, I think in the last 6 months, I've helped a few companies redesign their logos. So that when you say logo, I'm like,
no, net new customer to the carrier.
Okay.
Or net new location.
Okay. So new business only, or like a serious upgrade when we're switching from like coax to fiber.
Yeah, and we always bring those opportunities to us. Different carriers have different rules of engagement. We want to support you and take care of the customer in the best way possible. Sure. We'll let you know if there's a commissionable event or not. Generally speaking, we want to sell stuff that we're going to get paid commissions on. But if it's just doing the right thing for you, for your customer, we'll absolutely do that as well.
I appreciate that. And so I recall that you have 200 plus providers that you guys work with. So it's not just Broad Voice and Spectrum. There's 198 plus other companies that you guys will help us get internet and voice and all of these other types of services that you can help us, make commission and spiss off of. Correct?
Correct. That's absolutely true.
So I have one guy who is in the New York City area. What kind of fiber companies can you think of off the top of your head? I imagine Spectrum is one of them.
Spectrum is in New York. Verizon, Light Tower, AT&T in certain pockets is on net. What was CenturyLink, or what is CenturyLink? What was Level 3? in New York City, there's dozens of fiber providers that we have access to. We also work with a number of what we call aggregators, like an AirSpring, a HyperCore, carriers that just resell all of the different fiber providers. So depending on the nature of that opportunity and the number of locations, we might take it to an aggregator to consolidate the billing. But suffice it to say that if there's a fiber provider in New York City, as the question asked, we can probably get to them.
And with that said, are all of these different fiber providers going to offer roundabout the same type of commission? The spiffs vary, but the commission would be similar, or?
No, the commissions vary. The dedicated fiber tends to pay a little bit less than hosted voice. Hosted voice is kind of our bread and butter these days, both from the spiff and the residual component. But the fiber providers vary anywhere on the low end from like 10% to Sandler Partners up to 22%. So it can vary greatly depending on which provider it is.
And I got to say, I'm actually kind of shocked that you are so transparent with how much commission and revenue is coming directly into Sandler.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we are 100% transparent on what we get paid for the providers. Some of our competitors aren't. We don't really understand that. We think that we want you to know how we get paid because it directly correlates to how we pay you.
Sure.
And so on an opportunity, we might say, hey, this cost X and this cost Y. This provider pays 10 and this provider pays 18%. And then you have that information and you can present, whichever quote you want to your customer, knowing that it's going to impact the commissions you receive as well.
Okay. And I'm going to name drop two companies that I'm familiar with. I'm not expecting you to go like on a vendor bashing thing here, but
yeah.
What would you say differentiates you from companies like TBI and TCG?
Both good companies. The biggest differentiator we have is our layer of channel managers and what we think their skill sets are. We call them channel managers, but they don't really function as traditional channel managers in the sense that most of them were direct reps for the companies they worked for before us. And so they will engage in a meaningful way and in an intelligent way with your end user customer to sell the services with or for you. So if the question was on their TCG, they look essentially the same. They have a lot fewer providers than we do. They're based out of Florida. They're a growing company, but they don't offer the same level of sales support and sophistication that your partners are going to get with John, hands down.
Okay. Great. Guys, do we have any other questions that anyone wants asked? I just want to make sure that I've asked, everything that you guys want to know. Now with, if I recall correctly, the commission is paid based on your level of involvement?
On any particular deal.
Right.
So on one deal, you might have us sell it for you. On another, you just need us to get quotes. On another, you can even go directly to the channel managers for the carrier directly, if that's how your MSPs want to work.
So with that said, let's talk about Spectrum as a great example, and let's talk about what I'm going to say many of my members are probably going to be looking at, which is their coax.
Yep.
It's the more affordable one to get into, right? So coax, that starts at what, $60 or $50 a month, and it can go up to maybe a couple hundred depending on what kind of speeds they want. Does that sound accurate?
That's correct.
So what kind of commission, what commission do you get from Spectrum on coax?
They pay us 18%.
So if I say, hey, just get me a quote and I'll handle the rest for you, what are we getting?
About 11 or 12%.
Okay. If I say, dude, here's the name and number, can you just handle this?
About 7 or 8%.
Okay. So the delta between, I mean, it's not like you're going to give us 1 or 2%. We're
Right.
still making a nice chunk of money. Now, obviously, if they're getting the lowest end for like $50, we're only getting $3 or $4 if all we do is give you their name and number. But if we pass over 50 names and numbers, now it starts to add up.
That's correct.
And not everyone's going to want just coax. There's also fiber.
Yeah, and the opportunity to cross-sell hosted voice into that opportunity where the commissions and the revenues are better begin to exist, and to move into other services as well.
So, are there any like minimums or quotas for us to work with you?
There's no quotas. We do have the right, after a year, if you're not earning $100 in commissions, to cancel the agreement. And that's just because it costs us money on a monthly basis to process these, obviously.
Sure.
We've never enacted that, but at some point, if labor costs, we're primarily based in California, continue to rise, we might need to. So there is that threshold, which is a pretty low threshold in our opinion. And regarding the evergreen, as long as Sandler Partners is getting paid, the partner will get paid, short of them committing fraud or something else egregious. And so depending on the carrier, most of our carrier agreements are evergreen. Cox, as an example, is a one-time payout. It's not an evergreen, but the vast majority of the rest of them are.
And you let us know, up front, like, okay, here are the 6 providers that are available. And let's be honest, there's usually only 2 providers available unless you're in New York City.
Yep.
And here's the kind of commissions that you can expect. And this one's Cox, so it's only going to be a one-time up front. Sorry.
Yeah, we don't necessarily call that out on every quote. It becomes pretty repetitive and overwhelming for the partner. But we'll always answer the question. Hey, can you remind me which of these is which? Absolutely.
And I'm sure that also, as a partner, we get access to some like spreadsheet or something somewhere. Yep. Shows us what we're getting.
Yeah, when you look at the carrier rate sheet that I referenced in our portal, it's color coded with different shades of green depending on how strong our agreement is with them. And there's notes. We're very transparent in how strong we think our agreements are with the providers, what we get from the providers, and in turn, how well you're going to be protected.
And the thing about the 12 months, if you're not making $100 commission, we have the right to cancel. Is that something that you guys, how do I word this? Do you typically exercise that right?
We've never exercised it. We won't remove it. I see that question in there. It's something we need in there. If we're paying you less than that at some point in the future, we might exercise it. And candidly, if you're not comfortable that you're going to earn $100 in commissions after 12 months, it's probably not the program for you.
Fair enough. All right. Well, hey, this was good. $100 a month, Dave. And remember, that's something that should be growing over time as you bring new business into your own MSP. You should be saying, hey, let's review all of your technology expenses and let me see if there's other opportunities for me to save you money, or get you better service for the same spend, or whatever, whatever your pitch needs to be. But as the MSP IT provider, VCIO, whatever you want to call yourself, you should be looking at a holistic approach for your client's technology, in my opinion, to where, you review bills for them and say, hey, I think you should switch from AT&T to Verizon for your cell phones. Here's why. Here's what you're going to get. I already talked to them. Here's the discount they're going to provide you. And you're also going to get discounts for all of your employees. And, just it doesn't hurt for you to do that. And as you continue to do that, I mean, let's be realistic. You've never exercised that right. that doesn't mean that that's because everyone's always hit over 100. It's because you probably have people that are at least trying and they're growing.
That's great. Yeah, I think last month there was 800 partners that we paid less than $100 a month. It's not something we manage to today, but it essentially means, and this is just a wild guess, but that your customers are spending $1,000 a month in total across all of your customers that you've placed through us with the different providers. Now, different providers pay us different percentages, but if you miss the $100 a month for 2 consecutive months, we have the right, but we've never exercised that right.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much.
This is Mike from Spectrum.
Oh.
This is Mike from Spectrum, and just to kind of address something that might help to navigate or alleviate a concern. I work with a lot of MSPs. I've been to a number of shows that cater to the MSP community. And I always ask them, what are you doing right now to recommend carrier services, or how much involvement do you have? And surprisingly, a lot of them say, you know what, it's really not worth my time. I don't want to hassle with it. I tell them to talk to who's ever in the building, or I just tell them to contact, Spectrum directly. And there's a number of reasons why that's really not the best first step. First of all, Sandler Partners allows you to, if you want to become an expert in carrier services, we have the ability to help you do that. If you don't want to be an expert in carrier services, we have the ability to help you there too. Mm-hmm. But when you have someone like John call and engage your customers, a lot of times they get involved in conversations such as, well, we're kind of looking at hosted phone, or what do you know about hosted phone? And all of a sudden that $59.99 or $49.99 internet connection becomes a hosted voice sale with an internet service. Boom, there's your $100 a month in service revenue. And it helps to build up up to that $100 a month in commission. But the other thing it does, and I can't emphasize this enough, it closes the doors to potential competitors. Whether I have service in that building or I don't, just because of the amount of advertising and marketing that we have thrown out there to tell people who we are and advertise low prices, we're going to be part of the conversation. So let's, make an effort not to introduce a competitor into one of your customers. When you have someone like John, who's very seasoned and very capable of not only helping to propose an internet service, a TV service, or what we call a triple play of all three, but has the ability to have an intelligent conversation about what your customer is doing today and how they can make improvements to do it better, faster, and cheaper, and pay commissions to your MSP customers or MSP businesses.
And I see a question here, and I have a feeling I know where this is going. The question is Sandler going to discuss other product options with our clients as a standard practice? And I bet that question is kind of going to shift in this way. If I'm crazy enough to do the white label VoIP thing, are you going to go to my customers and say, you should really check out Broad Voice? I mean, are you going to, how do you know I don't want you to talk about VoIP to them? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a relationship. And so generally speaking, we're going to propose and sell what you've asked us to sell. If we're engaged directly with the customer and they ask us about something, we're going to let you know. And if it's going to step on your toes, we're willing to walk from that business. We don't care about any specific single opportunity. We care about the aggregate of what your partners can bring us and all of their customers. So, but generally speaking, we do not market, we do not cross-sell historically to customers we signed up 3, 6, 12 months ago or anything like that. But, if we're presenting Spectrum, the customer's asking us questions or calls us and says, oh, what about this other product? We'll circle back with your partner and say, hey, they also asked me to quote hosted voice, which would be an opportunity for you to say, hey, I want to sell that to them directly on my platform. Okay. And we're willing to walk. Like, that's not a challenge for us. Now, once we sign them up with a carrier like Spectrum, they could, just to chase this down the rabbit trail a little bit more, they could call Spectrum and want to buy voice from Spectrum. Spectrum is supposed to redirect that to us, and so we could sell the voice that way. But no, we're not trying to circumvent you with the other products that we sell. and we'll try to keep you abreast of any opportunities that might arise.
So you guys aren't going to be contacting our customers without us explicitly asking you to do that.
Correct.
Or without, for example, Spectrum asking you to do that, because I imagine if you bring a new customer on board, that you're the sales rep, it's your relationship more or less between the customer and Spectrum. So Spectrum wouldn't circumvent you and sell them.
Spectrum probably would, to be transparent about it. We don't. The providers might circumvent both of us. They generally try not to. That's not their intent, but sometimes they're just too big and bureaucratic to manage that process well. But we view the MSP as our customer, and that's who we're trying to satisfy and please. And in turn, that means the end user customer. But we're not trying to circumvent the MSP who brought us that opportunity.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, guys. Spectrum is potentially, well, let's be honest. I mean, they're sending out postcards to their existing customers saying, you should become a Spectrum customer. It's like their marketing doesn't even understand you're a customer. So yeah, they're probably not going to know better to pass it over to John Ellis over at Sandler Partners.
Yes.
So I think that's a fair assumption. And I don't think we mean that in an offensive way to you guys, Michael. I mean, you're just a huge company at this point.
Yeah, no, he gets it. The office I sit in is not serviceable by Spectrum, but every month I literally get 7 different pieces of mail from them trying to solicit me. So.
Yeah, no offense taken there. Our marketing department probably looks at a zip code and targets it. And you're going to have addresses in there that are just not serviceable for any number of different reasons. And the customer, and we get this a lot. Customer will call up and say, hey, I want Spectrum, and I've got your card here. I've got your flyer showing me all of your prices and all the features associated with the product. And sadly, we've been trying to get into that building, and maybe we need a railroad permit, which is almost impossible to get in any timely fashion. Or there's been a business owner who says, hey, sorry, I'm not letting anybody else in here, and we're prevented from bringing service there. But our marketing company just keeps sending them, advertisement after advertisement after advertisement. So, or it could be like
my old office building where they were in the building next to us, but they weren't in our building. And the construction costs were like $6,000 or something stupid like that. And they said, okay, well, we'll waive half of that. I'm like, well, I'm not giving you guys $3,000 just to run a cable from that building that's 200 feet away over to here. But if you get enough people in the building interested all at once, then they'll waive the whole thing. So
yeah, there are circumstances where we can overcome build costs. John and I have a number of projects where we are creatively working through that process to overcome, build costs of up to $50,000. So when a question like that arises, I'm available. John's available. We can look at the specific circumstances, and I can give you a pretty quick, yes, I can, and here's how we can do it, or no, I can't, and this is why. And as a channel manager, I'm available to support the MSP customer, to ask their questions on product, on service, to say whether or not it's a better fiber option versus coax option, or any question they might have about our process, our products, or our pricing. I'm available. I never leave the relationship. I do support the MSP business owner as well as Sandler Partners, and we're here to work as a team.
Awesome. And then this is a question, I think, for everyone. Do you guys do anything with E-rate?
It's probably a better question for me. We can. It depends on the provider. And so absolutely, we want to look at those opportunities and see if it's a fit. BroadVoice has a big education sector. And so absolutely, we can play in that space. Big carriers like AT&T and Verizon don't let us.
Sure.
But most of the others do.
Okay. And then what about not-for-profit? Do those ever get like special, like, if you look at like Office 365, they'll get it for free, but obviously there's no money in free. So is there not-for-profit stuff available?
Generally speaking, no.
Okay.
Sometimes there's some tax exempt stuff, and sometimes in California there's a teleconnect fund that certain nonprofits qualify for. But generally speaking, there's not tremendous vertical for nonprofit.
Perfect. Well, guys, this was great. I learned a lot. I feel comfortable. For those of you that are members of MSP webinars, reach out to John Ellis. His contact information is here on the screen. Once you land your first sale through Sandler, they're going to send you a $25 Amazon gift card as a thank you. Did I miss something? I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's perfect.
Okay, great. Well, you all have yourselves a fantastic day, and I will see you all on the next webinar.
Thanks for having us,
Awesome.
Steve.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Steve.